Saley Winters, present. And
So once I can see who all is there, we will get started right now. So I don't know who's got Northeast Oversight Committee as their name. Hey, Miss Sheila,
Hello,
how are you, dear?
I'm fine. How are you? Happy New Year.
I am in Baltimore, so it's 9 o'clock here.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, after a very long day.
Oh
Um,
gracious.
Hopefully, my flight in the morning does not get canceled, and I will be home tomorrow.
Yeah, let's hope so. Is the weather bad there?
No, it's not now. It was when I was flying in.
Oh,
We got diverted to Pittsburgh
oh my God.
because the wind and rain was so bad. They made two attempts to land and could not land. So it was a very bumpy ride.
Well, someone I saw in the email chain is stuck in Florida.
Achilles.
Okay, yeah.
Well, Alaska canceled all of their flights this weekend.
What?
Yeah.
All of
So, well, that was the news, and they moved me to tomorrow evening, and then I got a different. I'm flying on Delta, but And then I got a notice saying the flight was canceled after they moved me.
Wow.
Norma, can you?
News
Norma,
again.
I'm glad you're here, dear. Norma, can they turn the camera on in the room, please? Open signal.
It's not great, really. It's kind of terrifying.
They're working on it, Leslie.
That's like a deep spray tan.
And at the table we have
There's nowhere I would
Michael,
rather be.
Gwen, Saley, Chris Gustafson, and John Trin.
Norma, are there any committee members there?
Saley Winters. Did you hear me, Leslie? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Leslie, can you hear me?
Leslie?
Michael, I see you. Can you shake your head yes or no if there's committee members there?
Yes, there are. Can you hear us, Leslie?
Okay, but nobody's saying anything, and I've asked a couple of questions.
No, folks are talking. I don't know why you can't hear us, but folks are
And
answering.
now I hear you.
Okay.
Now I hear you.
Great. So Saley Winters in the room with us.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I know Jillian said she was on her way. If we don't get to 7, we won't be able to vote on the DPAL issue. I did send out an email to the committee asking folks to join by phone if they couldn't come in so that we could try to take care of that and not have to wait until March. But we shall see.
All right. Do you ever hold sort of special sessions just to do, a specific vote that's like a 10-minute phone call or anything, or are we stuck until March?
I mean, we could. It's just getting
Yeah.
people together, and it has to be public.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
So we can try to do a special meeting if we don't have quorum tonight.
Great.
All right. Well, we're going to go on ahead and get started. I appreciate folks being here on time, and I want to be respectful of time. Again, Dr. Holt is ill. So out since 2015, this is only the second meeting that he has missed out of all the meetings that we've had. So
Amazing.
yeah, we'll give him some grace on being ill this evening. And he asked me to facilitate. So first I will, Norma, you can go on ahead and start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm gonna ask the committee members to introduce themselves, and I'll start with Miss Sheila since she's unmuted herself. So, Miss Sheila.
President Sheila Holden.
Thank you, ma'am. Saley.
Saley Winters.
Hi, Saley. How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Hoping that I can get home tomorrow. That's
I hope so too.
with bad weather across the country. It's looking a little iffy. I believe that so today is Felicia Tripp's son's birthday, so I know she will not be present. Gabrielle had an emergency. Achilles is stuck in Florida, and Tanisha.
Miss Vergie just arrived.
Who did?
Vergie?
Oh, Miss Virgie.
Vergie,
Okay.
sorry.
And then Tanisha said she had an emergency, but she may try to join by phone. All right, Miss Virgie, you want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Virgie Reese, and I'm on the Oversight Committee, and I'm a committee member and really have seen a lot of positive things happen over the years for this community. And I say welcome to all.
Well, welcome, Miss Virgie. Good to see you. Okay, so the first thing on the agenda, now that we have done our welcome and introductions, is overview of some remarks from Michael, who is our interim director. So Michael, you could take it away.
Thanks, Leslie. Good evening, everybody. As Leslie said, I'm the interim director for the Portland Housing Bureau. And the first thing we'll talk about tonight is that the Bureau now has a permanent director identified and coming on board soon. So that person's name is Helmi, and she will be joining us starting February 1st. She will, Helmi's moving from LA, and so she's going to spend 3 months kind of transitioning and working half-time. So from February until May 1st, she'll be half-time, and then she will be full-time after that. So I'm going to stay on until the end of June while she's transitioning into her new role. So hopefully at the next Oversight Committee, you'll get to meet Helmi. Excited to introduce her to you. And just exciting for the Bureau to make it through this transition and have their next permanent director named. Just a few words about our budget. We are currently in the process of developing our budget for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts on July 1st. The city overall is in a constrained budget position, which means all of the bureaus in the city have to reduce their budgets by 5% in the general fund category. Portland Housing Bureau gets very little money in general fund. It's only 1% of our budget. And so we are lucky to be in a position to absorb that cut without reducing any services to the community or our staffing. So overall, this will be a stable budget year for us. So that's good news. And then we are sort of, this year kicks off our transition to a new form of government in the city of Portland. So that's kind of kicking into high gear. That will be, sort of a big transition for all of us to go to. At this time next year, we will have a new mayor and a new form of government. Instead of 5 city commissioners or 4 and 1 mayor, we will have a mayor and 12 city commissioners that represent 4 geographic areas in the city. And our bureau, instead of reporting to, all bureaus, instead of reporting to city commissioners, will now report to deputy city administrators, and they will report to a city administrator who reports to the mayor. So it's a big change in how we vote for our elected officials and how we're represented in the city, and how we will sort of be led by now a staff member instead of by city commissioners. And in the current case, that's Commissioner Carmen Rubio. So she will continue to have oversight of the Bureau through the end of this year. And so we will, just sort of be gearing up for a really big change. But, in terms of the Housing Bureau continuing to do its work, hopefully for the community, that will look a year from now pretty much like it looks today. So I think as staff will feel it, and as voters and citizens will feel it, but in terms of the Housing Bureau's ability to continue serving the community in the way that it does now, we will carry on. So I'm happy to take questions about any of that or turn it back over to Leslie.
So, Ms. Sheila, any questions?
Not right now.
Okay. Saley or Virgie, any questions?
Not currently.
Okay. Well, then we will head into our next agenda item. John Trin, the NHP manager, has some updates on down payment assistance, which again, we don't have 7 members present. So we will need to schedule another meeting in order for the recommendation prior so that we can implement it before March. So I will work with you all to schedule a meeting in the coming weeks. Take it away, John.
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, Oversight Committee members. My name is John Trin, the Neighborhood Housing Preservation Manager. I am here to present you some data in terms of home ownership and also home repair. My colleague Ira Bailey is not here with us today. He is at the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Civil and Human Rights Conference, and so he wished he was here, but he's not today. So with that, next slide, please. All right. So with the preference policy homeownership update, last time we had 125 years to date of new first-time home buyer. To date, we have 127. One of them is in process, pending. And so with that, we are hoping to increase that number as we move along in 2024. Next slide. With the increase of 2 new homeownership or ethnic and race demographic, that didn't change that much. Both of them who are new in terms of home buyer are Black African Americans. So you will see in terms of that piece of the pie show can continue to widen. Next slide, please. We continue to support the AMI of less than 80%. So the 2 new home buyer were around 88%, or not less, but between 80 and 120%, I should say. And so with that piece of pie continue to grow. Unfortunately, with home prices and the interest rate, folks who are less than 80% are having a more difficult time in terms of being first-time home buyer. And we hope to, with the DPAL recommendation that we'll be presenting in the future, hopefully we will be able to capture some more folks who are less than 80% AMI to be first-time home buyer. Next slide, please. I haven't talked about in terms of home repair for a while, so I just want to spend a little time in terms of talk about home repair within the North and Northeast area. Next slide, please. Hi, Julian. We have 2 programs in terms of that we offer in terms of home repair. One of us is a grant program, and the other one is a home repair loan. So I'm going to talk a little bit high level in terms of what those 2 different programs are. Next slide, please. Under the grant program, we actually give partner fundings to our partner agency. For example, African American Alliance for Homeownership. We also give money to Community Energy Project, Portland Community Reinvestment Initiative, and also Unlimited Choices Incorporated. So with those partner agencies, they're able to serve the community and providing roughly around $10,000 grant for home repair. And the concentration of the work that they do is really with moisture control, leaky roof, leaky pipes, and so forth. And so any community members who meet the qualification will reach out to our partner agency and request services. The other type of repair program that we have is a home repair loan. The loan program itself allows you to request up to $40,000 loan based on your home equity. So if your home equity is $60,000, you can request up to $40,000. If your home equity is $20,000, you can request up to $20,000. So with the loan itself, it's focused on terms of repair and renovation that focus on life safety and fire. And so you work with Portland Housing Bureau staff or construction coordinator to come and assess the home and give you some recommendation of where the funding should go towards in terms of home repair. The nice thing about this program is that it is zero interest, zero payment, and after 15 years you're still living there, that loan gets forgiven. So it's a great program for those who are in the Northeast area who are looking for some home repair dollars. Next slide, please. This gives you in terms of some numbers of how many home repair projects we have provided within the fiscal year. In terms of grants itself, with our partner agency within the Northeast area, we provided about 84 households in 2022 and 2023 fiscal year, and so forth. In home repair loan, we kind of slowed down because of COVID and also capacity, but we're hoping to build that up in 2023 and 2024. We probably have about 4 to 6 active projects at this time. We hope to have that increase throughout the year and be able to capture more homeowners who are looking for a home repair loan. So some of the outreach we're doing is that, for example, this coming Monday, we are putting some flyers together and we're presenting and having it available at the 39th annual tribute to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., held by the War Arts Foundation. So if you're attending that, you will see Portland Housing Bureau having some information regarding homeowners, home repair, and also down payment assistance, and so forth. So with the oversight not having quorum, I'm probably going to stop there and ask if anyone have any question.
John,
Yes.
I would like for you to go on ahead and present it, so
Okay.
we have it on the record. And
Sure.
then, and we've got it, we can, and then if there's any questions, and then we'll schedule a follow-up meeting with the whole committee, in maybe next week or week after next. So, you can go on ahead and present it so that they know what we're wanting to do.
Very good. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, down payment assistance. Again, I'm going to talk a little about high-level stuff, and then we get into in terms of some of the example of how down payment assistance could help new home buyers purchase a home in Northeast. Next slide, please. Within the Bureau and our program, we have different funding streams that will assist in providing subsidy for first-time home buyer. We have interstate tax increment fundings, we have Prosper dollars, we have tax increment funding for the Lents area, community development block grant, and also STR, which is short-term rental. Each of the fundings have different limits. Each of the fundings may have requirements in terms of home repair. So, for example, if the interstate funding is $100,000 limit, we require 10 or 20% of that $100,000 to be utilized for home repair. And those home repair, or home improvement, I should say. And the home improvement is a grant, and the remainder would be a down payment assistance loan. In this chart, you also see in terms of the area median income requirement. For example, the interstate TIF dollars is serving less than 80% AMI, less than 80% area median income. The area, of course, is Northeast. And then there's also some requirement, depending on the funding, if you need to be on the preference policy list. And I think the Visha is going to present on the preference policy later, so you could learn more about that. And then I added the last column, which is some notes. For example, although the interstate funding is, the AMI is less than 80%, if you're looking for a 3-bedroom, the AMI could go up to 100%. Next slide, please. I was able to pull some data together from the MOS, which is multiple listen services data, and this is data for 12 months ending in May of 2023. So at that time, Interstate, they sold about 740 homes with an average price of almost $560,000 and the median price of $530,000. In the Lens, the prices are a little less, at average price of $391,600, almost $392,000. And the median price of almost $380,000, let's say $390,000. And in the Lens area, they sold about 328 homes. Citywide is about 8,674. And then citywide, the average is going to be about almost $95,000, a little bit over $95,000, and the median price of $524,000. Next slide, please. This gives you a snapshot of in terms of area median income in terms of the affordability. At 80% for one household is $63,150, and a household of 4 is $90,200. I put together this graphic in terms of if someone is paying 30% of their income towards housing, that's just where the sweet spot would be. That would be green. I mean, they're going to be successful. They're going to be able to pay for their housing costs and be able to sustain and be in their home for a long period of time. If the housing costs start to increase, it gets a little difficult for someone to continue to be successful in their home. So if you see someone who's paying more than 50% of their income towards housing costs, which is the mortgage, utilities, mortgage insurance, property tax, homeowner insurance, that price could be over $3,000 easily. And as you can see, with a family of 4, 50% of that income is $3,758. If someone's paying more than that, there's a concern that they're not going to be stable in their house for a long run because there's not a lot of income to be able to support maybe a roof that's leaking or whatnot like that. So I already put together this chart so we could go back to this chart a little bit. Let's go to the next slide, please. Some of the challenges that we talked about, and I know that last meeting, I believe Ms. Saley Winter mentioned in terms of the goalposts, right, keep on moving because of the costs. You got interest rate costs, you have home costs, and that continue to move further and further out. And what can we do to really help meet and be able to support first-time home buyer to be able to purchase a home? We also looked at in terms of, Ira talked about in terms of the survey that he did. He talked to a homeowner, someone who bought a home, and or looking to buy a home in the Northeast, and he answered the question in terms of why people are not looking in the Northeast. And some of the answer that came back was home prices cost is too high. The condition of the home in the price range they're looking at, it's not up to standard, and it's going to cost a lot of money to do some rehab. And the other explanation is some of the folks have reestablished in a different community, even though they came from Northeast through the preference policy. So those are some of the reasons why people are not looking. But I will be looking at a survey. We'll be sitting down with folks and be doing a survey, and we will be coming back to the Oversight Committee and present those data, probably sometime in the late spring or summer. Next slide, please. So I kind of put together an example of the situation that we're seeing right now. If a family of 4, let's say, and we're looking at the purchase price of $530,000, which is the average price within the Northeast, and down payment of $100,000, 10% of that goes to home improvement, so that $10,000 is to help do some minor repairs as the person move into the home. That's a grant, so $90,000 becomes the down payment, and that becomes part of the loan. The difference between $530,000 and $90,000 subsidy is $440,000, which is the first mortgage. An interest rate of 7%. You got property tax and interest of $35.36, and then an escrow payment of $426. Your total payment is about almost $4,000 per month. Next slide, please. Now, you compare that back to this chart right here. A family of 4 spending almost $4,000. They're spending over 50% of their income towards housing costs. And that would be a concern in terms of the longevity of someone who's going to be able to continue to pay that much if something ever happened to the family or to the house or whatnot like that. So we want to make sure that we provide or set someone up to be successful in purchasing a new home. Next slide, please. I also want to talk about in terms of just looking at the history of down payment assistance. And again, I'm just looking the last 6 years. If you go beyond that, I believe the Housing Bureau started at $60,000 a down payment assistance. In 2017, they moved it up to $80,000, and then $100,000 in 2018, and we're still at $100,000 for the Northeast area. In this chart, you can see also the home prices started to increase from 2017 to 2022. In 2017, average home prices probably about 324,000, almost 325. In 2022, 432, and of course, right now, $530,000. $530,000. Our down payment, if you look at it from the perspective of the average home price and how much we provide in subsidy, we average around 25, 26, or actually the average is 27%, almost 27% within the last 6 years. So you got the, again, the chart also showed the low price and the high price. But I just want to just highlight in terms of the average down payment assistance that we have provided. Now, remember Dr. Holt also mentioned in terms of he appreciated the commitment of the committee, the Oversight Committee, to do all you can to help people move into this space. And really what we want to do is also have that commitment here too. So with that, next slide, please. So with that, we are proposing to increase the down payment assistance to $150,000. I know that back in November, October, I believe I presented initially, I was looking at 125. I believe John also mentioned in terms of, is that enough? And so I went back and looked at it and I said, no, we could do more. And so I've been pushing this, and with the help of Michael and Leslie, we're able to get the support of our commissioner to move the increase the down payment assistance for Northeast to $150,000. And we hope that the Oversight Committee will also support this recommendation. And with that, also the Lens area, we're also increasing it from $80,000 to $100,000 as our other proposal. That's
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. So I will start with the committee to see if they've got any questions or comments. And welcome, Ms. Jillian. I understand you're now in the room. So I'm going to start with Sheila.
I have a couple of questions. One, I was interested in knowing what is the corpus for the home repair program, and how many homes for 23, 24 you have the capacity to do the 100K for.
So right now with the Northeast, with the dollars we have in interstate TIF, tax increment funding, and also Prosper Dollar, with $100,000, we could provide 25 new home buyer.
Okay. And then if we increase the amounts from 100 to 150 and 100 for the down payment program, how many, what is the corpus for what? How
Sure.
much money do you have? How many do you do?
Sure, it would be a little bit over 16, so I'm going to say 16 households, so from 25 households to 16.
And that's for the rest of 23, 24. correct?
That is for the dollar amount that we have available right now, yes.
My last question is for 22, 23, and the first part of 23, 24. Why have we've done a lot of $10,000 grants, but none of the loans? And what is the rationale, or what has been the issues with getting that?
Sure. So after COVID, we kind of put a pause on home repair loan for a couple of reasons. Is that we have also the reason of capacity in terms of staff capacity within my team, and two is also the capacity of our contractor. So we put it on hold for a while, and then now we're ramping that back up. We do have we're going through our application right now, and our construction contract are working actively on probably about 6 home repair loans.
Okay, so the capacity of the contractor, we're exclusively using just one contractor for the,
No, it's just overall. I think within the Portland area, after COVID, they were too busy. We have a list of contractors we use. It is the vendor or the contractor opportunity to contract with us is always open, and so we're always looking for additional contractor to contract with.
do you have a sense of missed opportunity?
I do not.
You have a sense of current potential?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, we continue to add new contractor as we work with them. Unfortunately, some of the work we do, especially around paint and lead remediation, they require certain certification, and so we have very limited folks within the Portland metro area who are able to do that type of work.
Anything else, Ms. Sheila?
Yeah, but I'll save it for our next meeting.
Okay. You can always send me an email and we can get your questions answered and then send them out to all the committees, all the committee members.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna go to Saley.
Yes, I just have one question about the home repair loan as well. Can you?
Your button's not on. I'm sorry.
I said I just have one question about the home repair loan as well. Can you explain to me again how do people qualify for that?
Sure. For the home repair grant or loan?
The loan.
The loan. So folks who are eligible to apply for the home repair loan, they have to be 80% AMI, less than 80%. They have to be homeowner and they have to reside within that home, so they can't request a home repair loan for a let's say an investment property or rental.
And you said it's based off equity rate?
It's based on equity. So if someone has, let's say, only $10,000 in equity, they could request a loan up to $10,000.
Okay, so whatever the equity is what you'll loan against.
Correct, up to $40,000.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, Ms. Virgie.
Everything's been pretty clear and understanding, and I'm glad we're moving forward or trying to get there. So let's keep doing what we're doing.
All right, thank you, ma'am. And then
Yes.
last but certainly not least, Ms. Jillian, any questions or comments?
You know I do.
Of course
First,
you do.
I missed, are there any AMI restrictions on the home repair loans or grants?
Yes, 80%.
80%, okay, thanks. And then on the home ownership and the increase, I have a couple questions. My first question is, if there are any Metro bond dollars remaining, in the legislation that was passed, 10% of the Metro bond dollars were allocated for homeownership, and I don't know if they've all been spent, and I'm wondering if those dollars could somehow help increase the number of DPAL, of down payment assistance that are available, right? So we're increasing the amount, but that means that we're decreasing the number of families served, and I'm wondering, is there another funding source that could come in to increase the number of families served? And I don't know if that question, John, is for you or for Michael, or someone will get back to me.
Well, I can jump in real quick, Jillian. So we are using Metro dollars for Cary Boulevard and for the Abbey site. And so that's where we have focused those the home ownership dollars is in the development and not on the DPAL side. Now that's not to say that if we've got some money laying around, which Jill would be the best person to answer that question of what we have left. And we just did a last gap, MBOS. So, but we have short-term rental, we have CET. So we do have other funding sources that we can use for down payment assistance. And we currently use short-term rental funds for down payment. And now those are citywide dollars. So this increase would not, at this point, would not, we have to look at whether or not we would do that increase for all the funding sources. And I don't know that we got to that level of detail, John, and maybe we did, and I'm just not recalling it. But we do have a couple other funding sources that we're currently utilizing for DPALs.
Okay.
And so we evaluate that every year as we're doing the budget of how much of those funds, of other funds that we can put in. So how much CDBG, how much short-term rental, how much CET that we could put into down payment, and then specifically how much of that would be directed towards preference policy families.
Okay, thanks. And I know that it's rare that you have money laying around. I was just trying to look in the couch cushions, you know, and dig around and see if we could find it. Yeah, sorry.
No, thanks. Thank you. I just wanted to add a little bit to that. Love the question. And we can certainly dig in couch cushions. I love the idea of trying to figure out how we find, I'm not saying we can find money, but I like the idea of trying to find more in order to help families at an adequate level that's going to help them really, make a purchase that's financially sustainable for them. And something that really struck me, that helped me get not just comfortable, but very enthusiastic about the idea of increasing the DPAL to $150,000 is that in the last 12 months, among the home buyers that we have assisted, none of them have been in the Northeast area. Ms. Sheila, I really appreciate your line of questioning too. And I think what we found is that the idea that we could help 25 home buyers with $100,000 turns out to be sort of like, it's almost like a trick because we can't, we haven't been able to, and it really does take that sort of that higher amount in order to get us to a place where folks are meaningfully able to afford in this, pretty expensive market. But again, just really appreciate those questions of how do we help as many people as we can, and also make sure that the folks that we are helping, we're really putting on solid ground financially.
Thanks. And then I just had one final thing that's a comment, not a question, and that is back in 2017, 2018, when I was sitting here with Dr. Lisa Bates, she was really beating the drum of land banking, land banking, land banking. Prices are not going down. And based on John's presentation, it seems prices in Northeast have gone up about $200,000 in the last 7 years. And if we had been able to land bank some of those single family homes that were at $325,000 to $375,000 7 years ago, even selling them now at a profit would provide affordability to homeowners. And we have to find a way to land bank. Portland is not getting bigger. Northeast isn't getting bigger. More land is not being created. I want to continue to emphasize how important it is to acquire the land and figure out how to get it into the homeowner's hands later, that we can't always have a plan because the what's going to happen is property values just continue to go up. And the other thing is that the reason that property values continue to go up is because gentrification works, and it's at work here. And so land banking is a solution to the problem that we ourselves have created through the gentrification of the Northeast neighborhood. And I know it's hard to find the funds, and funds are, Metro bond dollars, for example, have a really narrow avenue to spend them on and be in compliance with the bond. But we've got to put our heads together, and we've got to get people in the room, and we've got to figure out how are we going to do this, because otherwise we're just going to be every 2 years increasing down payment assistance when we could have used that same amount of money if we had just bought the house before the preference policy client was mortgage ready. knowing they're on the path to mortgage readiness, getting ahead of increasing prices, getting ahead of interest rate spikes could have made a really big difference. And now we're at $150,000. Again, we're at $150,000 in down payment assistance. Back, if we had bought back when it was 80, we could still be using 80. So I just want to put that out there and just not lose sight of that recommendation that has been an ongoing recommendation since, I think, 2018. And I don't know how to solve that problem. I don't know how to square that circle, but I know if we all put our heads together, we could figure it out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. So just as a recap, we will be scheduling a special meeting for the committee to vote on this recommendation, as we do not have quorum this evening. All right, so the next item is Divisha coming forward with information about the new preference policy portal and the next home ownership round that we will be hosting to create a new home ownership preference policy list for people interested in becoming homeowners. Ms. Divisha.
Thank you, Ms. Leslie. Good evening, members of the North-Northeast Oversight Committee and esteemed colleagues. My name is Divisha. I'm a housing program coordinator with the Portland Housing Bureau, and I'm delighted to present some of the developments that our rental housing component has coming to be. Additionally, I'll be discussing a high-level timeline of the reopening for the home ownership waiting list. We can go to the next slide. We can also go to the next slide. So you'll see here this line chart illustrates the number of applicants that was sent each quarter. The first 3 quarters are a bit of a refresher. We did go over this at the last Oversight Committee. I promised to come with the 4th quarter numbers, and as you can see, we had a steady decline over the past 3 quarters. And then we've had a slight uptick in this 4th quarter, and that is coming with increased promotion and information sessions that we've had for the rental housing component. I do want to note that we do currently have over 1,500 applicants on the waiting list, so we are not ramping up efforts around we're ramping up efforts to promote the new buildings, but we are not ramping up efforts to obtain more folks until we conduct our purge. That being said, we are currently in the midst of our annual review, hence the purging of the list, and an application update, which is set to launch soon in the next couple of months. Let's go to the next slide, please. Here we have a chart depicting the number of applications submitted by point cohort. We still have an ongoing trend of more folks applying in the 0-point cohort. Again, that just really illustrates the need. Folks are getting on lists to obtain and have access to affordable housing. We are still seeing about a balance between the 6 and the 4, where we're seeing those being part of the second and third largest submissions. We'll go to the next slide, please. And I also want to just take a moment to give a little bit of our engagement over the past year at glance. So we've had a total of 6 information sessions over the past year. We've had them at Historic Alberta House, EcoTrust Northwest, Oregon Contemporary, SEI, and Gresham Library, with the goal of being in Northwest, fulfilling the goals of being in Northwest, Northeast, North, and East Portland. We have found that more attendees come on our Saturday sessions compared to the weekdays. Our team will be working to keep that momentum going, as well as introducing hybrid models for our information sessions, so people that are unable to attend in person on the weekdays can at least attend virtually. Next slide, please. And next slide. Thank you. We're excited to announce the reopening of the homeownership waitlist in response to feedback we've gotten from Oversight Committee members as well as our partners. We are going to be starting early. That we can provide families and individuals more time to become mortgage ready. The earliest homeownership dates that I have as of January 5th are 2026 as completion dates. So we want to give folks some time to get ready. We will be planning for a application open date in early February, the 1st of February, and closing at the end of February. That will be happening during Black History Month. The verification period will start in April, giving us some time to process those applications, conduct very intense research. We have not done this for a while, so we will be doing eminent domain research, and there is a reacclimation period that is needed for our team. So we'll be taking ample time to notify folks of the opportunity to verify, giving them ample time to submit documentation, as well as working more intently in providing technical services and assistance to applicants during that time so we can help them obtain the documents that they need. Reason why I'm going a little bit more intense on in the description of the verification period is because, as you know, for some time for the rental application, we have not conducted verification. So we will be reintroducing that procedure into this portion of the program. The next component of this is we can stay on that slide, thank you. The next component of this is the referral and readiness period. So we will be working with John's team to refer applicants to them so they can refer them to Portland Housing Center and get them ready, help them become mortgage ready for the home ownership opportunities. You can go to the next slide, and thank you. These are some key milestones that we are hitting on in this current round. So we have new materials for distribution, and I'm pleased to say that I've brought a few copies of the rental ones for us to review. They will also be uploaded and available online. We're going to be taking some deep, for our outreach and engagement phase, we're going to be tabling, as John mentioned, we're going to be at the MLK Day celebration hosted by the World Arts Foundation at Highland Christian Center. That is one of the first outreach events that we will be at. Following that, we will have a series of information sessions, and we will be bringing back, very happy to announce, our traveling help desk. We are in the pre-planning stages of that, so that way we can meet people where they are, whether that be at libraries or that be at different community centers, to help them sign up for the homeownership waitlist during that open application period. So we're in the planning phases of that. We will also be diving into regular follow-ups and surveys. I have our team is currently working on ways to continually re-engage folks on the list. We heard you all. The process by which the list was updated over the past few years has not been the best, to say the least. So we are looking to improve that by having continued follow-up and engagement by way of making sure we have the most updated information, checking in to see where folks are in terms, checking in to see where folks are in terms of their level of readiness for to become homeowners, essentially sharing information, and we're hoping to do that in collaboration with the housing partners. Being that number of the housing partners are in the beginning stages of development, it allows us the opportunity to work more closely with the families and have them work with housing providers and really massage and advise on the type of housing that they want to live in. So starting early has its advantages, and it allows us to really be more intentional in our engagement. Going on to the next key milestone, which is the application review and processing. We're spending a little bit more time on this, where we have on average given 4 to 6 weeks for people to apply. We are doing the whole month of February, which is about 4 weeks. And then we are giving more time to the verification period and more time for us to process and sort. I've mentioned already of the launch of regular follow-up and survey to ensure we have an updated list and a refreshed list during each transfer to the NHP team at the capacity that can be handled by PHC, getting away from acronyms, Portland Housing Center. And then we move into the transfer and assessment phase, and this is the window where our hands are not so much in it. We will be transferring to NHP. The referral initiation process will start. The families, individuals will receive mortgage readiness support, and there will be continued collaboration with the Portland Housing Center, and project sponsors are some of the goals identified in that phase. And next slide, please. Program announcements and updates. What I'm very excited, I am almost relieved after my child is 7, so 7 years of working, having the pleasure to work on this program with folks. We're having our soft launch of a new application portal, and oh, I'm so excited. It looks so good. I wish I could show a demo to you right now, and hopefully I can after the meeting. But it is open, it is available. We do have the, it's a soft launch because it's with the rental application portal. The portal features 2 applications. So the homeownership is sitting there, so you can preview it. You can get an idea of what we're going to ask. It's pretty much identical to the rental application portal. Nonetheless, it has a few different features and obviously different language around eligibility. So that will officially launch in February, working in tandem with the open application date for that we proposed earlier, which was February. That is going to be accompanied by currently minor revisions in this month and today to the webpage that explains the map. So the map guide looks different because the map looks a little different. And there is also an announcement to inform individuals that they, if they're already on the list, they do not need to reapply. We just have a new redesign to increase efficiency and to be more user-friendly for our community. Major revisions will be coming in February, which I'm also excited about. That is a great work of a brilliant team coming forth with really listening to the kind of questions that people were asking. So there are improved FAQs with revisions that and feedback that came from our communications team, just giving shout out to, and our data team, just giving shout out to the team that really ushers in this work. And that is set to launch in February. We also have a brief update, high-level update for the Security Deposit Grant Assistance Pilot Program, just to ground us all on what that is about. That is a program that is going to be exclusive to those that are on the rental housing waitlist and being referred to housing partners for buildings that are regulated by the preference policy. So essentially what that means is we'll be covering the security deposit and or moving costs, associated moving costs for families and individuals moving into moving into those units to provide further incentive to move into North and Northeast Portland, as well as help stabilize those families while they're here. And next slide. I want to thank you for your time, and I would love to open it for feedback and questions. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go in the reverse this time and start with Jillian.
I'm also excited to see the new portal. That's really great. I think it's going to give access to a lot more folks. I did have a question about, so I think it was the last meeting, we had talked about that there were 300 and something applications for rentals, and one person actually moved in. And I hear now we have 1,500 on the wait list. Is that for homeownership or rental?
Great question. The 1,500 is for rental. The homeownership list is closed.
Thanks. So sorry to interrupt you. So I'm concerned that the preference policy only works if people can actually move into units. And I am also concerned that our nonprofit partners, the owner operators of these buildings, are having to maintain high vacancy rates because they're not getting qualified applicants. And so I was just wondering if this new portal does anything to address the concerns that have been brought up by the nonprofit partners and by myself concerning the screening and getting a higher, a more actionable potential tenant list.
So, Jillian, before Divisha answers that question, I just want to level set just a little bit. One of the major issues with our 6 buildings is that we have 30% rents and we have 60% rents. And we know that Black families, who are primarily the ones that are on the preference policy list, on average are at below 30%. So folks are not qualifying in many instances because of income. Or they're over income for 30%, but don't make enough, they don't have enough income for 60%. We also know that because of income instability still coming out of COVID, that people have been reluctant to move. And we also know that we've got some public relations issues with some of the buildings that we need to work with our partners on in order to ensure that people moving in, you know, that folks have a good experience moving into those buildings, and that we are following through on the promises that we made in 2015. So I know that was a very long answer, but, and now Divisha can talk to you about some of the added data points that that are now going to be in the application to help us narrow down the names of people that we send over to our providers, so that if they've got 2-bedroom units available, that we're not sending them folks that want a studio, or people that need a 3-bedroom. If they've only got studios, that we're not sending them names of people that need 3 bedrooms. So we have listened and we understand that that is part of our duty. And so Divisha, you can talk about those things. And we've got about 5 more minutes. I'm going to try to keep us on time. So Divisha, if you could keep it brief, and then
It's my only question. So.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jillian.
I was hoping for more. No, I'm joking. I really want to talk about this portal. No, we have listened to that, and to echo, not echo, but to provide additional information of what Leslie said. One of the major things, Jillian, also was we were sending people who maybe had a household size of 7 for a studio, and we weren't collecting that information early on. And that was an interesting lesson in how we can, not a developer at all, didn't know it took so much to get little fields added to databases, and then that of course spurred, oh, we could just update this whole thing. So that is one way that we are also going to, for lack of a better phrase, weed out or refine, that's a better term, the referrals that we're sending to folks. I'm also piggybacking that with the supplemental form that's going to be really guided by the housing providers. So part of my goal was to really work on building relationships with the housing providers. We went from having meetings with housing providers where we were not talking to each other at all. It was just silent, dead, maybe 25 minutes spent with me giving updates, to now we're having more robust conversations. Frustrations are being shared because people are more comfortable being vulnerable with that. So I'm happy to say we're laying the groundwork to figure out what other information is needed without us stepping into pre-screening and retaining information that we, as a government body, should not retain. So there will be a form that will further refine how we're doing referrals, that will stay away from what we did in the past, which was assess income, because even that changes and didn't align with the units that were available on the homeownership and the rental scale. So we're working on different ways to refine it, and I think we'll slowly progress towards there. Hope that answers.
Okay, Ms. Virgie, do you have any questions?
Yes, since we seem to have an issue with people being able to get into the right unit, and you mentioned income was an issue, I'm wondering, do you have something similar to what the home process has in place on housing contribution affordability? Do you use something like this table to see what costs they have when you interview them and work with them when something changes?
Ms. Virgie, we're not at that level and capacity yet to where we are interviewing folks prior to transfer. The communication that we extend to folks before the transfer is to inform them. We are information heavy, again, so we're not retaining as much information written that we'd have to track and transfer to housing providers. So with that being said, we use the table we use the table not really for the application for our application or for our assessment or for our transfer, it was used with the data we get back from housing providers because they're the ones who are doing the screenings. They're the ones who are doing that initial interview, that intake that you might be referring to assess people's income level, their household size, and so forth. We're not collecting that. Yeah, in the beginning stages, it's something that comes back to us after they've been transferred.
Okay.
We do inform them. Sorry, going back to what I was saying initially, we do inform them of the rent amounts for the vacant units before transfer and the bedroom sizes that are available.
Next, do you give look over budgets?
We do not.
Okay.
That part is done some by the agencies or the partners and the property management companies that are managing lease up. So that part of the process is done with the partner, not at the Housing Bureau.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Saley.
I have a question about the prospective homebuyer process. So I was wanting to know, what does the verification process look like?
So the verification process looks like submitting any documentation, and I use that very loosely, any documentation that has the address of the applicant that they use to obtain preference points for themselves, and the address of their parent, guardian, or ancestor that they use to obtain points for that portion of the application. We also ask for just photo ID as well, just to verify that the person is who they are, and that's the extent to which we ask for that for points. There is another process initiated. I want to loop that in because it's important, and I'm low-key promoting it too. Eminent domain is another portion of verification, and we do that. And I love doing that because that means we get to go research and see and look at tax lot maps and things of such. I get to get out of the office to do those things. So we just need a family tree document that also falls under the verification window. And all the person has to do is identify their relation to the person who had their property taken by the city as a result of let's say the expansion of Emmanuel Hospital or the building of Veterans Memorial Coliseum and so on.
No.
Any other? Go ahead, Ms. Saley.
One more question. For the rentals, how are the housing providers selected?
I feel like that's a Jill or Leslie question.
So real quick, we do what's called a notice of funding availability when we have money available in the district or anywhere in the city, and those and organizations apply for meeting whatever the criteria is in that NOFA, and then they are selected based on the criteria that we've set out for a particular building or funding source, priority population. Jill, is Jill still on? Jill, do you want to give a brief addition to that, or is Tanya
No,
on?
Jill. Nope.
Oh, because
Neither
I
Jill.
saw she was on, but she must have left.
Oh, she's on the screen. Oh, okay.
So that's a real brief explanation, and I'm happy to get you additional information. You can look at a previous NOFA. Those are on our website.
Okay.
So you can go and look at what the criteria was for us to select providers.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to move us along to a celebration of sorts. Dana Shepherd, previously of the...
Leslie, I apologize.
Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Sheila, I missed you.
That's okay. But I did want to, I just had a question as it relates to the portal. And based on some of the other questions, portals are very productive or they are real headache, right? And if they're not done in a way that the user can understand what's expected and be able to get through it without having to come back in and go out and get more information that they didn't have up front. So I guess my first question is, do you have, the way the portal is set up, who's the user of the portal? Is that for the agencies or is it for the individual?
Thank you, Ms. Sheila, for the question. It is for the it's for the individuals, for the households that are applying for the wait list.
Okay,
I
so
do
they're
want.
going to send out an application and they're going to use the portal. Are you letting them know ahead of time at the front end what pieces of information they're going to need in order to effectively, quickly go through that application and have at hand what they need to input?
Yes, ma'am. So the benefit is the portal didn't change that much. It honestly put everything on one page. So it's virtually the same intuitive type of model. The ease that's added and some of the conveniences that are added, just to keep it minimal, because I know I'm running on time, is the addition of the household sizes, the ability to pinpoint a property on the map for individuals who might be struggling to find the property because, of course, it may no longer exist. Also, it has more detail on the questions. So before it was very minimal and nominal because everything was squished to one side. Now with it being one page, we've been able to add more instructions. We have pop-ups that tell people what to do. We also have language that says if you don't have, certain information, picking a bit on address information, because that has been a barrier for a lot of our houseless neighbors. So it's it has some language there that says to reach out to us directly for that. That's kind of the only tidbit where a person might need to just connect with us because we need a paper application and we of course need alternate contact information and so forth. But it is essentially the same thing. The introduction of it being a portal is just really for it to have a single site where both of the applications can sit. It's not a CRM or a customer relational management system, customer relations management system, where someone like goes into a portal, maybe inserts or uploads information. It's not that developed to where we need to tell people exactly like what to do because it doesn't differ much from what we have done in the past, except for those few enhancements. I hope that
So,
adequately
Ms.
answers.
Sheila,
Have some
the
questions,
verification
but I'll ask them
process.
later.
So, just to clarify, just so you understand, the verification process happens after the application. So somebody would go in and apply, and then they get notification from us. Hey, we got your application, and now we need your verification documents, and you have 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever the time frame is. And these are the types of things that you can submit. So you can apply without having those documents with you. Really, the only thing you need is the address for yourself and the address for your parent, grandparent, or guardian that you're claiming the points for. And then we get into the verification process later. So I hope that answers your question between myself and Divisha.
Partially, but not entirely, but I know we're caught on time, so let's keep moving. I can ask later.
Okay. All right. So Ms. Dana Shepard, now the executive director of Portland Housing Center, who left us to go over there. Welcome, and take it away with the update from you all.
Thank you, Leslie, and the Oversight Committee. I appreciate you all making the space and time for me to do this presentation for you all. It likely would have been Shalonda Menifee who is joining me. I see her on the call, but she is on leave right now. And so I'm going to recognize her as, first of all, the program manager and the counselor that has pretty much assisted and supported people in this whole process into home ownership. And then also we have our newest counselor with us, Christy Gifford. She is the preference policy homeownership counselor. She was hired a few months ago and she is here. We had hired her in anticipation of this new round of homeownership application. And so I'm so excited to hear that is moving along. However, you will hear in just a moment, you can go to the next slide or slide down. You will hear what we are doing in the meantime. So this is what you're going to get. My intention is to catch you up on time as much as possible. possible. So I apologize if I go really fast. You all can go to our website to see our annual report, and you can also contact me at any time. Our website is www.portlandhousingcenter.org, all spelled out. So I'm going to give you some information about the post-purchase pilot program, preference policy, home ownership celebration, which yes, I'm excited about, and just a snippet to remind you about Williams and Russell. But before I do, I did notice there are some new oversight committee members. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about Portland Housing Center and how we're connected to this work really quickly. Portland Housing Center has been in existence for 32 years. I took over the executive director position a year ago after the founder retired, Peg Malloy. We are a mortgage broker. We are a CDFI. We're a HUD counseling agency. We initiate the IDA program and a host of other down payment assistance programs. But we are so very thankful for the long-term relationship and funding from the Portland Housing Bureau in order to have partnered with the Bureau to create and all these homeowners. So that I'll tell you about in just a minute. So you can go to the next slide. Just to give you a little bit more history, in April of 2018, Mayor Hedwiller publicly declared the efforts, I shouldn't say the efforts, but the goals at that time towards the North-Northeast strategy, the home ownership portion of it, an abject failure. And in response to that, at the time, Director Callahan had been contracted with the Portland Housing Center to be the one source for home ownership preference policy. So that was in 2018. And again, I'll say that Shalonda Menifee has been the counselor this whole time through that. At the time, I was at the Portland Housing Bureau managing the home ownership and home retention programs. So the goals of this pilot program are just an extension of the goals that I've been hearing for 7 years from the North-Northeast Oversight Committee. However, this particular program is to continue the support of the people that have been created due to the home ownership opportunities that the Portland Housing Bureau has funded. Some of those were down payment assistance loans that you guys have spoke of, and others were investments into new developments from some of the partners. But the post-purchase pilot program, the purpose is generational wealth, retention of their homes, making sure that the homeowners that we have supported aren't left hanging out there, that we are here to support them moving forward. And so that is home retention and home repair, legal assistance. I was a part of presenting a new pilot program that is now an ongoing program with in Commons Law, where there's legal assistance with wills and trusts and such. We'll also provide financial planning and budgeting, and then other services based on the need. Last night we had a launch for this particular program, and we heard a lot of other needs that the homeowners have. So we are just ready to just help them in our counseling. Again, we're a HUD certified counseling agency, and we're here to hear whatever it is they need and connect them to whatever resources. And you'll see over here, African American Alliance for Home Ownership, sorry, that is a typo, in what they provide, along with Rebuilding Center, Proud Ground, and Habitat. Shalonda and Christy both will again go ahead and add on partners as we see fit, as people are willing to partner with us and provide services for our community. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, just to give you a picture, these are photos that the people that have been serving on this committee and attending these meetings, you have seen these pictures a lot, but I just wanted to, again, just go over the down payment assistance and the other ways that people have access home ownership. Down payment assistance in all of the many geographical areas and different funding sources that I heard John state earlier. And then, so I also just want to give an appreciation, aside from PHB, to Prosper Portland, because that allowed us to serve people up to 120% area median income. Shalonda had made referrals and worked very, very closely with Proud Ground and Habitat for those developments, the Olin Townhomes and the Kenton Commons. You see a picture of phase 1 for Kenton Commons, but there was a phase 2 as well. And I also just want to recognize the other partners that before there was a one list manager from 2016 to 2018, PCRI and some of our other partners as well, they did also support people into homeownership. At the time when Portland Housing Center had become the one list manager, I believe there was about 10 to 12 homeowners at the time, and the goal was to hit 110 homeowners. Next slide, please. All right. So again, I'm going to try to keep this brief, and then if there's anything else in the questions, you could do that. You can go ahead and ask at that time. But we had a virtual launch last night. I believe that there were about 40 people who attended out of the 100 and so people that we invited to attend. That launch was just to share with them that we are here to support them in counseling. We're going to provide credit reports, and we have these partners that we're working with. We actually expected a lot more. We had some technical difficulties, so Christy is going to schedule another date. We were really, really happy about the turnout and that people are still wanting to remain connected. What's very exciting for us, we are going to be celebrating 5 years of preference policy homeownership. I apologize for not having the data, but I just want to say that the preference policy works, and it has worked. And by design, that was to make sure that the people that had been displaced had first opportunity to down payment assistance programs and home ownership opportunities. And I would say the Portland Housing Center data, you can look at our annual report, but it is upwards of 80% of African Americans for the new homeowners. So I want to say that we are going to be celebrating that achievement, as you all know, in previous presentations by Ira and John and others in this group and at Portland Housing Bureau. The strategy for homeownership, we have met the goal, and we are so happy to be in partnership with the Housing Bureau and Prosper Portland in order to maintain those goals. And I'm also so very happy to hear about the new portal, which I believe some folks from Portland Housing Center helped with that and tested that out. So thank you for inviting us and keeping us abreast on all of this stuff as we continue to communicate with the community. But that celebration will be in February, Black History Month. And it sounds like those homeowners are very, very excited. And we are working with Gwen at Portland Housing Bureau, who will do some story banking with us too. We're going to do our own as well, but you guys will be really, really blown away by the stories, the resilience, and everything that we have come across through these 5 years in helping folks, and how many partners were actually involved in this. It's really, really been tremendous, and I'm just so happy that we'll get to memorialize these stories. And I'm really just very, very happy to share with y'all where people are today. They are really, really excelling. So I'm really excited about that. That invitation will first go out to preference policy families. It's over 110 of them, so I don't know where we're going to be, y'all, but we're gonna try to figure that out. And of course, we want Portland Housing Bureau, Prosper Portland, and of course, the Oversight Committee, everybody that has ever served on the Oversight Committee, we hope that they are present at this celebration. So the date is to come. You can go ahead and scroll down, please, to the next. And then last, I said I was going to be brief. This also is familiar to plenty of you as Williams and Russell. It's a homeownership development in partnership with Legacy, the Housing Bureau, Prosper, and many others. But I wanted to just share with you all how important this new list of people is for us in order to make sure that these 20 units, that's what it is right now, y'all know things change, but 20 homeownership units are filled. We are working with the list of preference policy folks that applied years ago. I think it was 2018. So people have their own name for it. Some people have called it a stale list. That list is less than 50 people. So having a new application round and having folks that we can actually feed into those units will be very, very helpful. So we are really, really happy about being a partner in this work. So I hope I stayed under the time I needed, and you can go to the next slide, which should just be questions.
Thank you, Ms. Dana. If there's anything that we can do to help support you finding a venue for that, we can collaborate on on that. I don't know if Miss Latimia is there in person, but Latimia and Norma are the venue finders for us, and they have worked some miracles for us to find venues. So just let us know. So real quickly, any questions or comments from Oversight Committee members? Sheila, I saw you unmuted.
No, I'm fine. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Jillian.
Yeah, no questions. Really, just congratulations to PHB and the Portland Housing Center teams. It's definitely been a successful program, and there's a lot to celebrate and a lot to be proud of. And I look forward to hearing the dates and times.
All right, Saley.
No questions.
Okay, Miss Virgie.
No questions.
Thank you so much. All right, and Miss Dana, while I have you on the spot in front of all of these witnesses, we are going to be presenting to City Council on March 20th, and I would love for you to be one of the presenters along with a couple members of the Oversight Committee to talk about what you just shared, as well as the partnership with PHC. So I'll get you the details, but I know it's harder for you to say no in front of all of these people. So.
Yes, we would love to be a part of that. Thank you very much. Yes, and I will be trying to figure out the venue as well. We've already got some is it Alberta House, the one on 26th? They offered some space, by the way, just to let y'all know. But any help with finding a venue that can fit us all would be great.
Yeah,
Thank
just send Latimia and Norma an email, and we will figure out how we can assist.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, we have an update from our newest building. It will be coming online within the next few months, the Daryl Milner Building, formerly 5020 North Interstate. And we have Thomas and Sahan to give us an overview of where things are. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry to do this. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Cool. Great. Should I get us started, Sahan?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for having us back. This is my second time presenting to the North-Northeast Oversight Committee, and I know Sahan's been here several times before. And as Leslie said, the name of this project is now the Dr. Daryl Milner Building, sometimes referred to as 5020, but yeah, it's got a brand new
Formerly
name, so.
referred to as 5020. We don't refer to it as that no more.
Yeah.
Now it's always Dr. Daryl Milner Building.
Exactly. Let's get to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, my name is Thomas Eldridge. I'm a development manager. I'm with one of the co-sponsors, Community Development Partners, and I will pass it over to you, Sahan, if you want to introduce yourself.
And thank you, Thomas, and thank you, Leslie and committee, for having us tonight. My name is Sahan McKelvey, he, him pronouns. I am Director of Community and Family Programs at SCI Self-Enhancement, Inc., and we are very excited to give you guys the update of where we're at, because it gets more exciting as we get closer.
Just a couple of the other folks who we work with, or actually do most of the work. LMC Construction, they're our contractor on the project. Carlton Hart Architecture are the architect. DRCom are our commercial real estate broker. So this project has 2 commercial spaces on the ground floor, and they're doing a great job because we have a prospective tenant for one of the spaces. And then finally, Guardian are our property manager. So you might be familiar with some of these names or see them as you look at the Dr. Daryl Milner project. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just as I explained, we're excited to present today. And this is one of many projects that SEI and CDP are working on and will be working on in the future. We could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So the Dr. Daryl Milner Building, that represents, that's the second project between CDP and SEI, albeit it's the 3rd building. So the first project is made up of 2 buildings, which Sahan is familiar with, the Ronnie Herden building and the Paul Knowles building. We are also going to be developing the Strong Family property, which is being done by my colleague James Lee, who I think has presented to the Northeast Oversight Committee previously. And then lastly, but not least, is a affordable home ownership project, which is opposite CDP's headquarters on Alberta as well, which we're working through as well. And just to recap here as well, is the resident services and all the projects are being provided by SEI. So they're being provided resident services on all our projects. Okay, want to go to the next slide, please? Okay, so project updates. Next slide, please. Okay, so starting with construction, some of this stuff I think I shared last time around, but we'll just recap it. So the Dr. Darrell Milner building project started in July of 2022. I checked the deck from last time we presented, and we were reporting a completion date of March 2024, but that's moved out a month to April 2024. And we're currently about 75% complete, so we can see the finish line. Got some finishes to get through, and I'll share some photos of those here shortly. Our MWESB goals are over 30%. We're at 31%, and we're still there, which is great. And then just finally, all of our on-site construction management staff are 100% minority. And then finally, one item about this deal is LMC is actually partnering with a minority-owned general contractor called Almar, who is getting some exposure to some larger projects, which should hopefully put them in good stead as they start growing. Okay, want to go to the next slide, please? Okay, so as I mentioned, we're about 3/4 of the way through on this project, and this is what it's looking like. I'm sure some of you have walked past it. The picture there on the left is the external facade. So this is like looking north. So you have interstate just to the left side of where the grey facade is. And then that's Alberta Street just in front of us. Top center is just an example of what the kitchens are looking like inside. All of the kitchens have dishwashers and they have their cooktops, and they're also supplied with refrigerators and freezers as well. And then also outside of the kitchen, we're providing washers and dryers as well in every unit, which is nice. Bottom center there, that's just another typical picture inside of the units. So we're starting to get paint on the walls. And then we're also showing the mini split, which is in all of the units as well, which is nice. So each unit will have a decent amount of cooling in the summer months. And then finally, that's just a little snapshot of what the internal corridors look like. So not too interesting right now, but a lot of dust. So that's the progress there. We could go to the next slide, please. Okay, other highlights. So the other two that we've made progress on since we last reported are ART and then the North-Northeast Preference Policy informational sessions. I want to start with ART, but last time we presented, we were asked to name everyone in the mural to the right, and I've got the answer for that, so I'm going to circle back on that. But just to recap, that mural on the right that's not on this project. It's on the Paul Knowles, Geneva and Paul Knowles building. But I wanted to include that here just to kind of give a flavor of the type of art and murals that we're doing on our projects.
Well, actually, just to temper the excitement, it's not on the Paul Knowles building yet. It will go up on the Paul Knowles building this spring once the weather is good enough for us to do an external mural. Okay.
And I'm not giving you enough credit here because I think last time, Sahan, you named, I think you got everyone or close to everyone, but I wanted to make sure we do everyone justice. So I'm going to read from something right now, but I just want to make sure that we do justice here. So just really quickly, top down, we have Charles Jordan, was the director of Portland Parks and Recreation for 14 years. He also served in the Army as well. Then second, we have Abel Gordley, who was the first Black woman elected to the Oregon State Senate. We then have Dr. Matthew Proffitt, was the first Black superintendent of Portland Public Schools, and he also served in the Army. We then have Reverend Dr. W.G. Hardy Jr., who was a pastor at Highland Christian Center and dedicated his life to public health, housing, and mental health. He also served in the Navy. We then have Gwendolyn Worthy, who made history as the first woman ever elected as National Commander of the National Association of Black Veterans. She also served in the Air Force. And then finally, we have Geneva and Paul Knowles, who the building is named after. So I just wanted to make sure we made good on that. Okay, so we can keep going with art. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the progress we've made with art, you may recall that we are going to be painting a mural at this project. We have a mural permit for that. We have finally selected 2 muralists who we have asked to collaborate together. And those muralists, their artwork is just shown in the right here. So to the top, at the top is Kyra Watkins. And then we've also selected Nia Maziba, sorry, at the bottom, who's also next to her artwork. Also with the art, our art coordinator, Sharita Town, whose art studio is right next to my office, which is convenient. She had an opportunity to actually meet with Dr. Daryl Milner and interview him to see if he had any ideas or concepts for what the mural could be. He had a lot of feedback, which is great. So I know sometimes when we interview people for art, they can sit on the fence or they don't have a lot to say. But he had a lot. But the one tidbit I just wanted to share here is that he asked that the mural bridge Black pasts and Black futures. So my hope is that the next time we present to the committee is that we might have something to share with you, which should hopefully meet that goal of bridging Black pasts and Black futures per Dr. Daryl Milner's request. Okay, and then finally, just as for next steps, so yeah, we need to develop concepts. We also have a requirement to present to the local neighborhood association. My hope is we can share that with the Northeast Oversight Committee before the neighborhood association, but that is a requirement. So those are next steps with art. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have had 2 preference policy informational sessions since we last presented to the Northeast Oversight Committee. I'm sure Davisha, who I can see, can give you a really good update on how things went there as well. But we had 2 sessions. The first one was at Self Enhancement Inc.'s HQ in November. And I don't know if Sahan, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to, I know you, I think, well, you attended both of them, Sahan.
Yes, I was at both.
So if you'd like to give an update on the first one.
The first one, we had probably about 10 community folks attend, in addition to some of the SCI staff and PHB staff. And there was a lot of excitement, but a lot of information shared just about how the process will go to access these buildings, which you all know and Davisha went through earlier in this meeting. One of the exciting things for me in this process is just seeing the excitement for the first buildings that we have. The family building, the Ronnie Herndon building is already filled. The Paul Knowles building, we are working with the VA, so it's a little bit slower process because, not to denigrate the awesome folks at PHB, but working with government sometimes goes slower. But there has been a lot of excitement for both of those buildings, and we're seeing similar level of excitement for this building. We've even heard from a lot of folks on the Ronnie Herndon building wait list that they are really looking forward to the opening of the Dr. Daryl Milner building when they'd have an opportunity to have action at being a resident there. One of the other exciting components of this building, we're able to see a little bit of what it's looking like inside. But because the building was initially designed by the architects to be condos for sale, the amenities in the building are really good. So there's a lot of people excited about just the units being a little bit larger than some of the other rental buildings, the air conditioning being central in all of the units, dishwashers in all the units, washers and dryers in all the units. So there's some different level of amenities in this building that we were able to share at both of these info sessions and was received really well. And again, there's just a lot of excitement about the opportunity for folks to be able to live here. So we're excited about that and looking forward to that, and have plans to do a few more info sessions to build on that excitement as well and make sure that we are ensuring that all of our community members who have that excitement are equipped to be able to go through the process in a timely fashion that will allow them to be able to access opportunities to live in this building. So definitely looking forward to that. And again, just excited about the chance that this building is giving us. And again, the excitement is growing as the date gets closer.
Thanks, Ahan. Okay, we would like to go to the next slide, please. All right. So to recap, next steps between now and the next time we meet, or the next time we present here. So I mentioned art. We're going to continue that and hopefully have something to share next time we present to the Oversight Committee. Open waitlist. The intention is to get a waitlist open towards the end of January. I realize we will stay in very close communication with PHB how that relates to the Northeast preference policy waitlist. But that would kind of work in nicely with when we're hoping residents can move in, which is a couple of months later. And then we have the big milestone of actually completing construction, which, like I mentioned, should occur in April. And then should that occur and we have folks ready to move in, they should hopefully be moving in April as well. And then finally, with all of the work we've done with the Ronnie Herndon building, the Paul and Geneva Knowles building, and then also the Strong Site groundbreaking we're looking at doing in the summer. As part of the grand opening for the Dr. Darrell Milner building, we're looking at having a block party of sorts, which we hope we can see all of you at as well. So can't forget to celebrate. So next slide. I think that's it. Yeah. So any questions, Sahan and I will do our best to answer them.
All right, Ms. Sheila. Ms. Sheila, you have any questions or comments? All right, well, we're going to move to the people in the room. Ms. Virgie.
No questions.
Okay, Ms. Saley.
I have a question about the residents. Do they have to be within SEI or is it just open to the public?
It is open to anyone who is on the Northeast Preference Policy list.
Gotcha.
So you do not have to be a current SEI participant.
Gotcha.
Ms. Sheila, I saw you came unmuted. Did you have a question or a comment?
No, I apologize.
Okay. And then last but not least, Ms. Jillian.
No, just really excited for the grand opening of this project. It's been a long time in the works, and PHB got really creative to figure out how to maintain this project and the design when it was permit ready, to convert it from homeownership to rental, and I'm just really excited to see it so close. So congratulations. Only suggestion is that if you could make the font bigger, because they print 4, and I can't read that at all. That's all. Print 4 on a page. It's very tiny.
So I will ask if are you going to do ribbon cutting or grand opening for that building, for this building?
The short answer is yes. I just need to work with folks, SEI and CDP need to work out how we're going to coordinate this with some of the other buildings. I think we're going to do 2 separate ceremonies. There might be a ribbon cutting for Dr. Darrell Milner building, and then there might be a larger block party as well, which will capture all the other buildings as well. So the short answer is yes, and I can get you information on that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you coordinate with us as well about that, so we can make sure that we have PHB representation in the Oversight Committee, because this has been a project in the making for a very long time. We purchased this property after it sat vacant for a long time, as Jillian mentioned earlier, land banked, and the condo project that didn't go through. And now this is very exciting. I know a lot of people that are excited about this project opening. Washers and dryers in the units, we know is very few and far between in rental units, and that it's going to have, the central air, which we know is critical now with whether or not you believe in climate change. We know that we've had hotter summers, springs and summers here in Portland. So that is definitely going to be a selling point. And then I just want to make sure we stay real close contact about the preference policy list and how we can be supportive and ensure that you get the names that you need in a timely fashion. So with that, we are going to move on to communications. So that's between Gwen and I. Just a couple things real quick. We are going to be recruiting for one committee member at this point, potentially two. Adrienne Mache resigned from the committee back in the late fall. And so we will be recruiting to replace him. If you have folks that you think might be interested, please let us know. Also, if you have suggestions for the type of skill set or experience or background that we can put into the recruitment notice, we would also love to have that feedback as well. Secondly, for me, and then I'll pass it over to Gwen, it's that time of year. We need to begin working on the annual report to council, which is scheduled right now for March 20th. Please put that time. It will be in the afternoon, so block the time out. I'll send you a calendar invite. I will be trying to start drafting information. I get the data from our various teams, and then be looking for narrative from the committee members. So if there's a particular thing, item, issue that you would like to see included in the report this year, you can send me an email, and I'll make sure that there is a spot, and that if we need to find data, that we will include that. One of the things that Dr. Holt wanted me to make sure that we got included this year is the disparity between African-American incomes and AMIs, and the rents in these buildings. And as I spoke to earlier, he wants us to be sure and put that in front of City Council as they think about housing need in Portland. And then last but not least, and I don't know, is Gwen still on?
I'm actually here.
She's here in person.
Oh, you're here in person. Okay. Well, Miss Gwen, take it away about the newsletter.
Sure, absolutely. So good evening, everyone. My name is Gwen Thompson. I serve as the Communications, Community Relations Analyst at the Bureau. I use she, her pronouns. And I want to talk a little bit about communications as it relates to both the newsletter and recruitment. So just starting with recruitment and piggybacking off of what Ms. Leslie shared, how we begin recruitment is by determining how many spots. So as soon as we know how many vacancies exist on the committee, we will then post the recruitment in 4 different places in hoping that we can get a lot of applications. So we're going to use not only PHB's social media platforms, also our newsletter, but we're going to work with our partner bureaus, including Civic Life. And then after we receive sufficient applications, we can begin the interview process. So we're hoping that committee members, as well as potentially some staff members, will volunteer to be on a panel, and that we will get wonderful applicants. Something else I'd like the committee to consider is what kinds of skills currently exist with your members, and what would you like to see skill-wise on the committee. So be thinking about that, and that can be anything from legal experts to community experts that really have deep roots here in the community. So we also want to consider onboarding as in a lunch or evening gathering, something that I've observed with the committee, and I should say this is one of the most favorite committees that I've ever been a part of, as my years are accumulating in community engagement. So I think that 2 ideas might be worth considering. One is having an evening gathering whereby we have our existing members and our new members be able to socialize, but something else might be a buddy type of system. When we had our last recruitment, we did have onboarding, but there wasn't much in terms of relationship building amongst community committee members, so that's something that you might consider. Folks like Ms. Jillian has a wealth of knowledge that she could share with the newbie if she were willing to buddy up. Not calling you out, Jillian.
Not calling me out, except that you're calling me out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for communications. just an update there. For our newsletter, many of you are familiar with the fact that we publish the newsletter quarterly. We begin in January with a welcome to the new year message. This January 17th is our publishing date. Dr. Holt has written the welcome message. And so in addition to that welcome message, we will be having items including the preference policies first-time home buyer program reopening in February, the rollout of the application portal, the PPPP program that Dana just presented, which is a post-purchase program. And then I, of course, am going to be working with gift certificates for anyone who offers us a story. Lastly, we're going to have a spotlight story for minority MWESB construction spotlight story and calendar events. So we're also hoping that you might give us feedback on the newsletter. I know that we've produced roughly 8 of those thus far. We love getting community feedback on the newsletter, and there's so many ideas, and the more ideas that come our way as comms professionals, the more we like it. So please shoot those our way and provide feedback. The last thing I have is some new marketing materials. So in conjunction with lots of what's been said tonight is getting the word out to potential new home buyers. So we wanted you to see our new marketing materials first before we share it at the upcoming MLK celebration. So we passed those out, and then Norma, if you're able to share them on the screen. So this is the guide, and Ms. Davisha is going to walk you through some of the ideas that we've incorporated into the various documents. But we want to give you a minute to just take a look at those, and then we will dive in.
So Gwen and Davisha, we're running over, and I really need to do public comment.
Okay.
So if we can send these out to people.
Definitely.
Or hand them out and ask them to send us their feedback. I really appreciate it.
Wonderful.
And I'm sorry for cutting you guys off, but I want to make sure we have time for the folks that signed up for public comment.
Sounds good. Please do give us feedback. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we will do public comment. I think there are a couple of people that are signed up. Public comment is limited to the items that are on the agenda this evening. If you have something other than what is on the agenda, you can reach out either to myself or one of the other PHB staff on this call, and you can raise your hand either virtually or in the room if it's something other than that. So I will be timing, and we have a couple people that signed up that I will start with. So the first person is Mimi. Is Mimi on the call? I know I saw her.
She's on the call. Mimi, are you still interested? And I think she just left.
Okay. Judy?
Hello, I'm Judy Boyer, and I'm president of the Northeast AARP. And actually, I called to talk about an important issue at the King Parks apartment, one of the newer buildings run by PCRI that has a serious heating problem for the residents. And maybe this needs to be taken up at some other point, but it's come to our attention as a chapter. We're the only organized chapter in the state of Oregon, and our chapter is a majority African American, about 270 members strong. And it came to our attention in later November that there are heating problems there, that people do not have access to their heat in their apartments, in all of their apartment. Maybe the front room works and the bedroom doesn't. They're passing out space heaters, which we think is so dangerous to give a lot of space heaters. This is subsidized housing. It's supposed to be affordable housing, but not substandard housing. And so this weekend, we feel it's an emergency. The temperatures are dropping to 20 degrees. And these people should not be having families with children and also the disabled. There's a lot of seniors in there, and it's a popular building. It's in a wonderful location at King Boulevard and Rosa Parks Way, and we need this to come to somebody's attention. We talked to a PCRI, and I don't know that they have the maintenance crew that is trained, that is trained to do the maintenance on this electrical work. They say the building's only 2 years old, and it's just an emergency. It's an emergency situation.
Well, Miss Judy, we were this was brought to our attention today. And the PHB is actively working to ensure that the residents at King Parks are taken care of. And so thank you for bringing this to our attention. And we're going to work with, I reached out to Kimberly myself today, and we will continue to try to resolve this and ensure that those residents are taken care of. This is a brand new building relatively. It opened during COVID. So
I was contacted by the media today, and they want me to follow up and some other folks to follow up residents there to see if it really is going to be handled. But I wanted to bring it to your attention also.
Thank you, Miss Judy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We have one other person, Miss Sharon Gary Smith. Are you wanting to give testimony as well?
Yes, thank you, Leslie and committee members. In a sense, I'm following Judy Boyer because I've been actively involved in this, and you might or might not have been aware that I wrote a very detailed, documented letter about a number of issues at King Parks. There has been, I will say, I'm appreciative of hearing that you consider oversight, which is taking responsibility and verifying that conditions for those who are marginalized, vulnerable, or have experienced housing scarcity and insecurity, that we not find that they are in a situation in places that are supposed to allow us to be safe, have secure space, have heat when we need it, and cool when we need it. It has gone on for a number of months. It's not something recent. And so I really hope that the number of us who are turning our eyes to our community will cause something other than some responses that did come today from their general counsel that don't speak to how long this has gone on and the impact. And I hope that your coordination, your engagement, your questioning, not about the agency and whether or not it cares, but how you demonstrate compassion, responsibility, oversight, has to be something more than over 2 months of heating problems that haven't been resolved. I'm really appreciative of hearing that was our intent, both AARP and myself and others, of really moving this out for us to examine what it means to provide affordable housing. It means safe, secure housing for those who are marginalized or vulnerable, as any of us who can afford more. And so I'm really surprised and pleased that it even came to the attention of PHB and of course this committee in doing your jobs. I hope that outcomes are not as tardy and as slow or non-responsive as they've been to the last 24 hours. So thank you.
You're welcome, Ms. Sharon. Again, we are very concerned, and this is a priority for us at the Bureau, myself specifically. I am out of town right now. I'll be traveling back to Portland tomorrow. So one of the first things I do when I touch down is make sure that I can speak with Kimberly about what the issues are. I know that our staff at the Bureau, we're doing some additional follow-up work on the property management and where we can assist them and PCRI with getting these things resolved. We know with the temperatures dropping, it does create a significant potential for problem. So we have heard you. We are actively going to try to get this resolved within the next few days if we can.
I can send, didn't think, and it was not considering PHB, but did not think about, we can provide to you the letter that addressed raised questions and asked them how they might respond and what assistance they need. I'll direct that to you since it's gone to others. And there was an interview tonight with one of the media stations.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm sorry, but so busy making sure that they had a chance to answer over a month of no response. And so I would certainly send it to you now because they're acknowledging that they received it and are apparently trying to do something. But it might be helpful. Thank you all.
Yes, yes, it would be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Sheila, I see you came off of mute. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
I just had a quick question because do you know from your conversation so far with folks what the issue is with the system or the?
Yeah, I didn't speak with Kimberly. And she and I were kind of playing phone tag because she was going into meetings and it's the 3-hour time difference for me being on the East Coast. And so she knows what I'm reaching out to her for. And so like I said, my intention is to get her on the phone or just go down to the office tomorrow when I'm back in town to try to see how we can be of assistance if there's anything that we can do to resolve this. And other folks in the office are also working on this. Director Bonacore, Jill Chin, Gina, who is our risk analysis compliance manager. So this is high priority for us. And I want you to know that it's not a good look for us as PHB because you know it's not just PCRI, it's the city. We help provide the funding for these projects and we want people to feel safe and secure in them. So we will do whatever we can to get this resolved as quick.
Has the contractor been included in this process?
The property management company?
The contractor who did the building, who had responsibility for the heating and cooling in the building.
Ms. Sheila, I don't know. I haven't talked to Kimberly yet.
Okay.
So once we have some clear information and we're working towards resolution, I will make sure that the Oversight Committee is informed of what those steps are. All right, we are at 7:59. And unless there's anything else from the committee, our next meeting is on March 14th. And then the city council report is March 20th. And that should say and we will be scheduling a quick half-hour meeting for the committee to vote on that DPAL recommendation. So be looking for that in coming weeks. Thank you so much, everyone, for being there. Be safe this weekend. Stay warm. Say a prayer across the country. I would appreciate all prayers. And take care and see you soon. Meeting is adjourned.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you, Ms. Sheila.